Yeehaw, partners! Let's go down to the heart of Texas and think about who's in our Learning Posse as we talk about your learning crew with our good old friend Deidra Busbee on this episode of the Learning Geeks podcast, fixing to start right now. All right, I'm putting away Cowboy Bob. He's done.
Good.
Yeah. Oh my
Good?
gosh.
That sounded like one of those 1940s like Disney characters or like a Looney Tunes character or something.
I know,
Yeah.
it's
Well,
true.
Who's the bad guy in the Toy Story series? The sheriff.
Oh my gosh, the one that's in the
What's his
container.
name? The one that's in the box.
Oh, yeah, the prospector.
Pistol Pete.
Yeah,
The
'cause-
prospect. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it Pete?
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a prospector. Anyway,
Prospector.
Yeah.
you kind of sounded like Prospector Pete.
Well, you know what it was doing is there's a
Stinky
a
Pete.
classic.
Stinky Pete.
Stinky
That's it.
Pete.
I think.
Oh, that's what
I
Google's
always
for,
forget
right,
we have
Jake?
Google here when we can actually look it up while we
if
talk.
only we had a
Yeah.
device.
We'll put
that
our
would
crack research team on the name of
give
that.
us the wisdom of the world. I've been playing a pinball game a lot lately called Cactus Canyon, and it is just cornball cheesy Western stuff. So that's really a Cactus Canyon voice that I was doing.
Okay.
But
Well, I mean, the nice thing is Deidre really is from
oh my
Texas.
gosh, we are so
Totally
happy.
from Texas.
And we did preview this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking to Allison, and all of a sudden it clicked with us that we had not yet had the one and only Deidra Busbee on our podcast, and we thought, let's immediately rectify that situation. So we immediately reached out to Deidra, and Deidra was just telling us, I'm going to expose you just a little bit, Deidra, that you usually have deferred other invitations to podcasts, but for ours, you were willing to jump on. So welcome to your very first podcast, Deidra Busbee.
Well, thank
Yay.
you. Thank you very much. Happy to be here. Happy to be a
Yeah.
part. Long-time listener, first-time podcaster.
Perfect. Well, we are glad that you are here as somebody that we used to work with regularly, and now we've all kind of gone our separate ways, and so we don't get a chance to talk as much. But Dana, would you like to fill in our listening audience on a little bit more about Deidra?
Yeah, just a little bit. As Bob said, we've known Deidre for a long time. I think I got to know you best when we were approached to create a Learn to Learn course that was going to be for all 700,000 people at Accenture.
Okay.
And I think initially we were told that we had 4 weeks or something, which didn't sound like a lot at all. And then our CLO, our patron saint, Allison Horn, was talking to the chief HR officer, and somehow the chief HR officer misunderstood the timeline and made an announcement to all of the higher up leaders and said, we're going to have this course available in 10 days. And so Deidre worked miracles.
Oh my
Deidre worked
goodness.
miracles, and she just kind of let me focus on the stuff that I could do, and behind the scenes she was kind of taking care of everything else. And
Oh my gosh.
it was amazing, and we ended up pulling together a course that was very well received.
I'm so proud.
And yeah, and
Still a good course.
yeah,
Still do it.
It's still running. So
well,
I mean, miracles do occur.
I love it. I remember that like it was yesterday, and my eye twitches a little bit. But I'm still so proud of it, not only because of the end result of it, but I was really proud of the fact that we worked for a company at that time that when so many companies were like, oh, you're going to be working from home, here, go take 50 hours of coding.
Mhm.
And we didn't. We paused and said, hey, let's all learn how to learn. And you can bring your little coworkers with you. And it was a really beautiful
That was the
response
coolest
to
thing.
it.
We took the neuroscience of learning, right, the brain science
Mhm.
stuff behind learning, and put it into terms and ways that it was understandable for an audience, again, that covered the globe. And because it took some pretty amazing concepts, sometimes complex concepts, and put it into a structured model that people could look at and say, oh, here's how I can improve, and here's something I can do better. And I do really well with this part.
Mhm.
That the model ended up being part of the genius. So we taught the model, and
Yeah.
and I still reference it often.
I do too. And it came together so quickly because, and this is kind of related to the topic we're going to talk about, but like, who is that genius person that has all this knowledge in their head? I just knew if I could get Dana to write it down, we were going to be fine. I could take care of everything else, but I knew he had it all. He had synthesized 1 million hours of content. If we could just get it all down to something precise and concise, and we did. And we rolled it out.
Well, and then to me, that's part of the value that you added, and it was a tremendous amount of value because I didn't necessarily have the confidence. You saw that I had the knowledge that I wasn't quite sure that I had. I did, but anyway, that confidence.
Done 40 hours of it. I knew we could have.
Yeah.
We could have done 40 hours of it. No, that was amazing.
Anyway, so you were talking about the Learning Posse then.
Yes. So when you reached out, I thought, like, first I was like, oh no, I do not like to be recorded. But then I thought of all the people I want to hang out with, and like, this is part of my Learning Posse, and not only in the format of this podcast, but over the years. I mean, I know who I go to for all the different things. And so I started thinking about, like, Dana, I've reached out to you. I left Accenture, what has it been, 5 years ago?
5 years, I think.
Now? Yeah. And I'd been there 25 years. It was a very long time. I know, Dana, we really got to know each other during COVID, but we'd known each other for years before. And I don't even know, Bob, how long it's better if we don't put numbers. Some of it.
Yeah, we're young at heart.
Yeah, I knew you when you were there. And I, as I started to think through, I'm like, yeah, this is part of my Learning Posse. And so I was like, what is that role that Dana continues to play for me? I've reached out to Dana multiple times since leaving Accenture. I've reached out to you, Bob. So
yeah, and I don't charge for my services to Deidre because of the good friendship. Anybody else, I will charge for. But
I didn't get reaches out, but whatever. We're not going to talk about that. But
not too late. Don't you worry.
It's not too late.
But before we get to the Learning Posse, though, like, Deidre, maybe let's share with the audience what are you doing now? What's your role?
So I work at a bank now, which is really fun. My mom thinks I'm a teller, but I'm not. I still lead.
Well, but some trainers are tellers, right? They just get up and tell stuff. And
yes. No, after 25 years at Accenture, then I went to high tech and stayed there about 3 years, and now I'm at a bank and still leading talent. It's always been about talent. So whether I was doing performance management, recruiting, strictly L&D, and the role I'm in right now is about half learning and development, about half recruiting. And I love that combo because now we're getting to have that decision. Are we going to hire for it? Or are we going to train for it? Mm-hmm. And you might know what my bias is in so many cases. So in fact, we're talking a lot now about what are those priority skills as we get ready for the future. And what the priority skill is for me always and forever is learning agility. If we can teach people to learn fast, which Dana has the whole course on how to do that, we can learn all those other things really fast. So I, after 25 years at Accenture, 3 at ServiceNow, and now I'm over at JPMorgan Chase and loving it.
I'm glad you said JPMorgan Chase because you were starting off at the bank, and I'm like, JPMorgan Chase is pretty big. It's bigger than just a bank. So I wanted to show like you're managing a lot, you're doing a lot, and that's a huge set of talent and people that you're overlooking.
It's a little different than like the Universal Campus Credit Union. Or,
It's a little different, and I feel the burden of that too. Like we take security, for example, very seriously. So as we think about rolling out even just a piece of learning technology, at first, like the first month I was frustrated it wasn't going fast enough. And then I'm like, we could impact the free world if we aren't careful. So like I rolled it right back and got on board with this security and said, yes, okay, you let us know when we're ready.
Trillions of dollars could be on the line if we mess up here. Yeah,
we
that's
take
a little
very seriously.
Elon Musk's new salary could be on the
line. Right. Along with my mom's bank account. So,
and my mortgage.
So, Deidre, why don't you explain a little bit about what you mean when you say Learning Posse?
So
we've kind of danced around a little bit. But
so moving from Accenture to ServiceNow, the big loss I felt was the connections that I had. Like, I'd been at Accenture so long, I knew how to get things done. I also had immediate Teams ping access to this entire group of people. And then I went to a new place, and keep in mind, I changed jobs at Accenture so many times, but leaving, and I knew I wasn't really leaving you all because I knew you would still answer the phone, but I felt that loss. And so as I moved into ServiceNow, I really started thinking about, how do I build, like, who is it I need? Who is that person that's going to challenge me? And it all kind of came back to that that famous question of, do you have a best friend at work? And it was at Accenture I did, and you guys know who my best friend at work was at Accenture. And how do I get the benefits of that moving to a new company? So, like, who's that best friend? Who's the person that's going to challenge me? And who's that expert that I'm going to call for all the things learning? Who's the person that's going to be the wild card thrower? That would be you, Bob. When I'm thinking of an idea and I just need somebody who's going to turn it on its side. So, like, I started thinking through, who are those roles that I really needed to bring in? And so I came up with a list, but before I thought I might see if, like, who's on your list? What are those roles for you? For me, I've got about 7 that I need. But I'm curious, like, do you have a learning posse? Have you thought about it as a learning posse? And if so, who's in that? Or what kind of role is it? I mean, you don't need to give names.
That's a good point. I'm trying to think now, like, how do I have it categorized as, like, how you've defined it, which is a bit of multiple personas of how you think. I would say I definitely have someone that I know is going to challenge. Like, I think that's always great to have someone. I have a few people externally that I have outside of the bubble of McKinsey that I like to go to. One, I would say I have, like, a scientist perspective. I have one that's more of a design perspective, like an experienced design perspective. And then probably another one I can think of, like a creative, very focused on just creativity side of it. I would say those would be the first couple, but I have to think about a few more, at least internally.
Well, I'd say mine is very similar. I mean, when I think Learning Posse, I immediately think of these two jabronis here.
This is true. This is very much.
Yeah.
And then by extension, all the people that we've gotten to know through doing this podcast, several of whom I stay in touch with and continue to reach out to and get some help with. So that's kind of like one layer of it. But the core group is, I do try to surround myself with enough like thinkers to me that we can riff off of things and really, I've got 1 or 2 people that I'm like, hey, if we can just get into a room and get super creative and really bounce ideas off of, we're going to come up with like 100 great ideas, and 3 of them are going to be worth pursuing. Yeah. So there's that aspect. And then I look for the people who are very different than me. I've got the guy who is very analytical, academic, research focused, who might drive me absolutely crazy, but it's good for me to have him around.
I have a few of
to
those.
Keep me honest, right? Yeah. I've got the people who can help me with where I am not quite as strong in terms of, like, program management and staying organized and all that kind of stuff. I've got that group around me. And then it is so important just to have, like you said, that best friend at work, that person who, you can call and talk about anything with. And, the person who, you probably send 6 or 7 memes on Instagram every day about, like, your work bestie, and
yes,
like, this is my face when
we're
on a Teams call and trying not to make each other laugh, and all those type of things, right? So that's kind of my makeup. What about you, Dana, Mr. Retired? What's it look like for you now?
Well, for me, it's like
the bike,
my neighbors, the mountains, my wife, the kids. But when I was at work, I would always look for connectors. So I'd look, because often I didn't know who I needed to connect with, but often in your workplace, there's someone who kind of knows everybody. And it's not always somebody above you or somebody below you, might be somebody sitting next to you who is in a totally different department, but they just happen to know the landscape. And you just, hey, do you know anybody who does X, Y, or, oh yeah, there's Bill down in the such and such. So connectors, I really benefited from advocates, and one of them was Deidre. Another one was Allison. I mean, Allison always expressed more confidence in me than I had.
Same.
And then I loved surrounding myself with people who were smarter than I am, and that was super easy to do. Still is.
I don't know
Not
about
in this room.
I'm like, I don't know about that one, but no, I have a lot of the same ones. So when I think about like that best friend, that's that like completely trusted person. She's very tired of memes coming at her all the time. We now, and I kind of have like one for each company, right? The one at Accenture, we do Marco Polo because we struggle to find enough time together. So we use that app so we can have real conversations. Mine from ServiceNow, she's like 4 memes a day minimum coming at her, and she's probably tired of it, but I don't care. But you mentioned that challenger, and I always had 2 categories of people. Like, I want to work with you, or you're invited to my barbecue, because there are people I want to hang out with that I don't necessarily want to work with. Or remotely, right?
I've never been invited to one of your barbecues, so I understand.
Well, you are open invite to this. And we've already established that I live in Texas, so the bar is high on barbecue. But there are people I want to work with that I may not want to hang out with socially, but I know they're going to make whatever it is better. Like, they're going to challenge, they're going to push, and but I need that. You mentioned connector. There's a guy at the bank that half of the people I have met at Chase are because he has introduced me to them. And I value that so much. I have advisor on there. You mentioned Allison. Like, I've got a few advisors that if they tell me to have a conversation with someone, I'm going to answer that. Like, I trust them so much. So that's a good. You didn't mention this. I don't think any of you mentioned the encourager. I love having an encourager, and you've been that for me at different points. I mean, I remember sitting with you, Bob, in New Orleans, and I kind of needed some encouragement, and you've been that for me. But I think that's another one that I add. And you mentioned collaborator. That's definitely one for me. But that's the one I want. The one that we can finish each other's sentences, or like we can pick up and leave off. Like, there was somebody for me at ServiceNow, I swear I could start a sentence and then give it over, and he would finish it and carry it on. Like, we could finish each other's work. Now, we had to bring somebody else in to really poke the holes in it, but it was a really great way to get a lot of work done. And then my last one is the wild card thrower, which is that person who listens to it, turns it on its side, asks a lot of questions. Allison's very good at this one too. Like, you need that person who's going to make you be more creative than you will be. Because, I started my career as a coder. I did analytics. I built data warehouses. I didn't come in with the creative degrees. So
we've talked about a wide variety of roles collectively. I'm wondering, we've talked a lot about AI. Are any of these roles something that AI could fill?
So one of the things I was thinking about that I almost had as my other one is a teacher. And so I know not everyone agrees with this, but and I'm saying that because I've heard from people specifically they do have worries of using AI from learning development purposes. But I think one thing that AI as of today, if you think of Gen AI, one thing that it does really well, and you could use it really well, it increases the amount of feedback loops you have in a day. Like before, I had to rely on a person to give that, but usually a person, especially in my world where I'm remote and virtual most of the time, I don't always work in an office. I don't have access to someone all the time at my fingertips. I usually have to schedule time. And now I have someone 24/7 that I can ask questions about. Yeah. I can say, I have all these thoughts, these unstructured thoughts, help me figure out, like, let me put some structure to it. This is where I'm thinking I'm going. Give me some feedback. Like, that's way more feedback loops than I ever had before. And I personally feel that I have learned way more in probably the last like year, especially because of that addition in my posse now.
Yeah. I agree. Have I told you guys about BobBot 3000?
Is that your agent?
Yeah, I made an agent, and I basically uploaded into this agent all of my favorite stuff that I've ever created, including, gosh, I think it's like 200 pages of blogging when I was blogging every day. Remember that for a few years?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And I put it in there and basically told it I wanted to be a digital twin of my brain and to communicate like I communicate and write like I write. And it has been so helpful for me to be that collaborator where, you know, for instance, we were just working on something where I was teaching storytelling to a bunch of facilitators, and we wanted them to record themselves on video telling a story, and I would watch it and give them feedback. And I was able with BobBot 3000 to say, okay, look, I'm basically going to say the person's name, and I'm going to put a plus if it's something good and a negative if it's something not as good, an area for improvement, and then slam out the email for me that sounds like me and is well written and nice and looks like I spend a lot of time doing it, but it only takes me 3 minutes to generate this because I'm just typing in the feedback as I'm writing it, and save me hours, gobs of time. So I think that there is definitely a role for AI in your learning posse, but again, I will go to my biggest mantra with AI of augment, don't abdicate. If you are abdicating all of your learning posse to AI, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You need a bunch of real people and not just it.
But I think that also applies with humans too, right?
100%.
Like you can't, like having it one-to-one individual and only depending on one creates that mini-me effect, which you don't want.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. And Dana, you were going to say something. Sorry.
Yeah, I was going to say part of the reason I raised that question is to tease out some of the roles that could not be replaced with AI. Because I know that's always a threat. Am I going to lose my job? Well, there's some things here, like the connector you were talking about, Deidre. I mean, I could not imagine that type of person being replaced with AI.
No.
So,
the
encourager, right? I mean,
yeah,
being encouraged by a chatbot is very different than being encouraged by someone who's you're sitting across from for lunch with lunch, right? Or
Isn't
something.
isn't the connector bot actually Elliot Mazie? I mean, that is his core competency, is connecting people, and sometimes I do wonder: is he really a human, or is he really not just?
You got some options.
some people.
And I
are
hope he
just
takes
really
that in
good
the
at
best
it.
way,
Yeah.
Elliot. If you're listening, you know I mean that with love and respect.
Yeah, some people are just really good at it.
Yeah.
I mean, the bot or some type of agent could help you find people
For sure.
Like if it's connected to a people database, like in your organization. But I think what a human connector does, at least for me, because I also feel that same way. I really value connectors. It's because I have. It's hard for me to sometimes make those random connections of people I don't know. So it alleviates a little of the pressure when someone else knows something. So if the bot knows, here's the person that's in XYZ, well, I still have to go introduce myself, kind of cold call the individual. Like that's very uncomfortable. If I can at least CC someone or like reference a name, that kind of alleviates that like awkwardness sometimes of me making those connections.
Well, and to Deidre's point earlier, sometimes the people you're connected with are people that you would not invite to your barbecue. Like you would not in the coffee room, if they still have these things. You wouldn't necessarily approach that person. But if someone says, "Hey, you need to talk to that person," you might go, "Hey, Mr. So-and-so in the coffee room."
So for the record, I do have a coffee room because I get up every day and drive into the office 5 days a week.
Oh.
Yeah. So coffee is a real thing, and I have used it. I do feel like it's a little bit of a flashback, but I'm using coffee to build my learning posse.
Network.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
love it.
So sometimes it's a virtual coffee, but sometimes it's a real in-person coffee, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
I think.
And Dana, I was going to say, it hasn't changed that much in a year and a half that there's no more coffee rooms.
I know,
There
that's
are
what I
still
was
coffee
saying. Like Dana, like you haven't been gone for 25 years. Like, come on. And
In fact, in
coffee's
the LA
cool.
office,
Coffee's
like
a
our
thing.
coffee room is awesome. We have all sorts of snacks and soda and everything.
Yeah.
It's really, really
Our
good.
coffee
I
could
do
be
like our
better.
break room.
My coffee could be
Yeah.
better. There's a Starbucks on my campus, but the free coffee could be a little better.
Yeah, I hear you.
A real quick tangent, real fast before we get back to the thing. Speaking of like, I love traveling to the different offices that we have because I have like a rating of pantries of everyone.
Oh, yeah.
So like every office
A
that
rating
I go to,
as in rating, or a
RATING.
rating as in
a rating for rating.
rating,
gather-
like
rating
I am
with a T.
judging
Okay, got it.
judging the quality.
Not that you're taking everything and bringing
No,
it
he's
back to
doing
the
that
kids.
too. No, absolutely.
I'm judging the quality of our
Yeah.
pantries and our break areas. And some of them are incredibly impressive. And then when you think you got one, there's a new building that shows up. You're like, oh my gosh, this one topped up number one on the list. That's a thing of mine. I do appreciate a good break room. Anyway, what were we talking about, posses? Sorry, I'm not thinking about whole
But let's
pantry
go back
music.
to the AI because I've heard a phrase a lot lately that I really like, which is human at the helm instead of human in the loop. And I do think when it comes to the learning posse, I think there's definitely a place, and I learn a lot from AI. I call it my boyfriend chat. My boyfriend chat and I have conversations to and from work a whole lot. And I'm in a new industry, right? So I'm constantly learning about the financial industry, and so I've learned so much from it. But there's also that I don't think it's going to replace the phone call, the text, the forwarded meme, the whatever it is. So yeah.
So a question about the value of, I'm not exactly sure how to ask this, but the value of a posse. What have you experienced where you have not had a posse versus when you have had a posse?
Well, I
Maybe
think
that's
my stress
great
level,
phrasing.
I feel like my stress level changes if I have a good posse. Having a good posse takes so much of the pressure off. There's no pressure for me to be the smartest person in the room. I don't feel that pressure most of the time to be the smartest person in the room. But if I've got a learning posse, I have that network, that support, and a lot of the pressure comes off. So I feel like my stress goes down. The other thing I'll mention is like onboarding to a new heavily matrixed new industry, like it's a lot. And because I made pulling this learning posse together, like that became one of my very first priorities. I now feel like when I'm 4 months in, like we're moving, we're going fast. We're developing the strategy for next year. We are launching, like we are, I wouldn't say I'm up to speed. I still have so much to learn, but I've taken on some stuff that I didn't know if I would be ready for at this point. And I think it's because of this network. So I need to give them a whole lot of credit for helping me to get there. And I felt the same way stepping into big roles at Accenture. I mean, at one point I led learning for tech ops, digital, and security. And I didn't sleep at night very well during that time. That was like a lot of leadership tables to be a part of. And the only way to get that done is to have the kind of support, and not just the teams, but the learning posse kind of support so that I could be successful.
So a follow-up on that, if you are in a smaller company, and a lot of the people who are listeners are in smaller companies, how could you think about gathering a learning posse if maybe those folks aren't part of your same organization?
I mean, I don't know how different it would be because I've actually given the same advice. So especially when I talk to high school kids or college kids, I give them this same advice, which is, map out who you need. Who do you have? Like if you think about that board of directors, that learning posse that you want to have really close to make sure that you're going to be successful, do you have that trusted advisor? Do you have the connector? Do you have the encourager? And I ask them that, and I help them kind of map out who that might be for them. And if they know who they need, they can start looking. And it's kind of different for each one, depending on who you need. If you need the advisor, a lot of places have a mentor program, or if not, you probably know who you want to mentor you. Like you look around and you kind of know. And I always encourage people to be bold. Like go chat with them. See if you might be a good fit for a mentoring relationship. So I think depending on what you're looking for, I think it's a different approach. I think if you're looking for the challenger, you have to be pretty explicit and say, I am looking for somebody who doesn't think like me. Like I want to brainstorm with somebody who is going to come at it from a different angle. And I think if you don't call that out, sometimes people are like, why are we having this conversation? So I think it's different for each one, but I think there's an approach for each one.
Yeah.
We're at a small company or a big company.
I think even at a small, I agree. I think even at a small company, and this is also the same for a large company, goes back to one of the first things I mentioned of Learning Posse. I love the idea of going external as much as you can, or when you can. I think having a network, even if let's say if it's someone that you worked with prior, that's great. Because again, now you know each other, but you come at it with you're in different places, different perspectives. But having a few folks that you can always draw on that are not inside your bubble, because it's so easy to get stuck in it. And then even if the person has a different view, you're bringing that person to be a challenger, but they still work in the same organization, which means they still have the same somewhat culture and the same values as probably, again, the organization has. Sometimes going outside of that is also helpful as well. So I always think that is one of the most important things, and things I encourage from anybody that I work with.
Yeah, totally.
One of the first things.
Do any of you ever inject yourself into somebody else's posse?
Oh, that's
I'm sure I have.
thought.
I'm sure I have. And did they know I was doing it? And were they good or not?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like I've tapped into like Bob, you're a really good networker. So I've connected with on your end and snuck in.
Yeah.
And the same with Dana. I think one of our good friends, Tessa, I think Dana, you really built the relationship with Tessa, and then I'm like, oh, okay, I'm going to kind of jump in there. So, but it's not your whole posse, I guess. It's just kind of one member of it that I'll find.
Well, and JB and
JB,
Lauren.
Yeah.
I don't know these
I was just
people,
thinking about,
but I know these people.
Yeah,
Because
right.
of your podcast.
Yeah.
They don't know me, but I know them.
Yeah.
Well, now they will know you,
I was just thinking about,
and we're glad to connect you with
thank
them.
you.
I was thinking about the guy who introduced me to people we've had on this show, like to Paul Zach, to Elliot Kotek, to a couple other people who I stay in touch with. And I haven't been in touch with this original guy in years. Now I feel terrible.
I gotta go back.
So Chris Gebhardt, if you're listening to this, give me a call. Let's have lunch.
There we go. There you go.
I was thinking though, too, kind of looping back on the, how do you get a learning posse if you're not part of a larger company? My first thought went to the professional organizations. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking SHRM, ATD, probably the big elephants in the room. There's probably others that I'm missing that are going to be mad at me right now. And then the more boutique, specialized things, like Brian Hackett and his organization and Brandon Hall, right? Like all of those are places to go. But another aspect is one thing that I've always liked to do and been proud of is to kind of professionally connect with people who aren't engaged in the learning space and try to use that lateral thinking the abstract thinking to connect with them. Because still, I believe I can learn from pretty much anybody or any experience and find a way to bring that into the world of learning.
Yeah.
100%. I feel like that's where more of my learning comes from personally, is when I look at it either adjacent fields or completely different and try to bring it in.
Yeah.
I learn the most. And frankly, like I think in our job, when we are trying to help individuals learn, develop, improve their work to then ultimately improve performance, you can look at things that are completely outside of corporate and look at like lifestyle products, lifestyle experiences. What are those specific long-term trends that are not necessarily trends, but things that are people just expect. Has nothing to do with learning, but it has a ton, like to get in the mindset of that in the field and get to experts in that. I think you can just learn a ton.
Yeah. And it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do this. It's a lot of work to make those connections, to put yourself out there in these other fields and make those connections. But absolutely valuable. And I think it's one of those things that we can't undervalue, but we sometimes do because we get so busy getting the job done, but taking that time to connect with your advisor, to connect with the connector before you need something, because then you've got all that trust built up. It's so important. Hard, but important.
Well, friends, this could probably go on for hours, and it would be delightful to have it happen, but our listeners would be thinking it's too long. So it's probably time that we wrap it up.
They would be finishing brushing their teeth.
And then we would be no longer in their posse going forward, which means unsubscribe for most
We
of
get
them.
it.
So, Deidre, thank you so
We'd
much
be
for
moving
being
out of
on
Texas.
here. Your first time, definitely not your last time on the Learning Geeks podcast. Would be delighted to have you back whenever you are able to make it. And we're just glad that you're doing so well, and it's so great to connect with you.
Thank you all. And really great to connect with you here. As I was telling you earlier, like I feel connected to this because I listen to you in the car and I'm talking with you, even though it's one-sided because you can't hear it. I value the work that you do here on the Learning Geeks and have enjoyed it, every bit of it. So thank you.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, shucks.
Thanks for coming.
So thanks.
Oh, shucks.
So,
Yeah, that's
of course,
little bit of Southern.
Jake,
shucks.
Dana, thanks to you as always. Most importantly, thanks to our listeners. We're glad that you're here, and hope that you continue to be part of our Learning Posse as well, because we learn a lot from you. Which is encouragement, by the way. Get a hold of us. Give us your thoughts. LinkedIn, probably the best place to do it. But we're not hard to find, and we would love to hear from you as well.
And we're going to be live at
are.
South by Southwest.
Yes, which I am sure is thanks to most of the people in our listening audience,
Yes,
because we
for
did not
voting.
promote it very much. Like, we didn't campaign very much. So,
But we had enough votes
yeah.
on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So it's a huge thank you to all of the listeners, because I'm
Absolutely.
sure it's up to you. It's all of you guys. We think it's amazing that after 8 years doing this, we never thought that we'd be continuing personally. I just remember thinking this would be fun, and it's 8 years, and now we're going live at a conference that houses 8,000 plus people. And it's going to be pretty fun.
So just a plug, if you're coming to South by Southwest, we will have cardboard cutouts of the three of us, and you're welcome to come and take a picture of yourself with the cardboard cutouts.
and South by Southwest EDU. We gotta
EDU,
specify.
exactly.
That's
Which
the
is
week
in
before
what
the
state?
big festival.
Remind me what state that's in.
Good old Texas.
Texas.
You can build your posse at South by
Y'all
Southwest.
do need to work on
Yep.
your accents. I will say that.
Oh gosh, yes.
That was an intentionally.
I can give you a Chicago one, but I can't. Yeah.
Chicago.
Okay,
Yeah,
let's
we're
wrap
in
this up.
All right.
Bye, friends. Good to see you.
See ya.
We'll see you
Take
next
care.
time.
Bye.
Take care.